first off, hi, I'm Amanda. So I'm from Evoluted Digital. We're a digital marketing agency based in Manchester. Thank you so much for having me tonight. It's lovely to speak here and see all of you guys at Sheffield DM. And I'm going to be speaking to you guys about creating an effective SEO and digital PR strategy using your money, your life principles. Now, there's loads of takeaways in this talk. So even if you don't have a website, you're not working on a website that relates to your money, your life, there's still lots and lots of takeaways for you. But to start off with, I want to take you back a few years, back to 2018. So 2018 was a great year. I think it's a great year because it was before COVID happened. And let's be honest, any year before that was pretty great. But in the world of SEO, we had this. So this is the Google Medic update. It was a pretty serious update back in 2018. And one of the reasons that it was so serious or so important was because it was like an update that we hadn't seen before. So in the world of SEO, we were very familiar with the likes of Panda and Penguin. So we knew about creating great on-site content, and we knew how important our link profiles were and making them really high quality. But when the Medic update came out, it was something completely different. It looked at things like quality, it looked at reputation, it looked at a whole host of factors that we at SEOs perhaps hadn't been so focused on. So in August 2018, Google rolled out an algorithm update just 1 week after updating its 200-page quality rater guidelines. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the QRGs, Google publishes online a whole host of kind of rater guidelines which give you an indication of what it's looking for when it comes to rating a website. And obviously, as SEOs or people who work in SEO, we're looking to make those websites as high quality as possible so that when Google's looking to rank them, that's one of the main things it takes into consideration. Now, back in 2018, Google updated these guidelines. And just a week after it updated them, it rolled out the Medic update, which very much took into consideration a lot of things that the guidelines had covered. The reason it was called the Medic update was because predominantly it covered the healthcare sector. So if we look at the sectors that were covered by the Medic health update, we can see that the healthcare sector at around about 42% was one of the sectors that saw the biggest impact from the update. But also the most important thing here is that it wasn't just the healthcare sectors. So in amongst these sectors, we've got e-commerce down at 16%, we've got finance, we've got travel, we've got business, we've got a whole host of sectors which were also impacted. In fact, it was so important that it made SEOs stand up and take notice of the quality rater guidelines. And for people with websites that fell into the Your Money, Your Life category, and I'll explain in a minute what Your Money, Your Life is, they became infinitely more aware of how important having a good quality website was. So thinking back to 2018 and the Medic update, what did we learn from this? Well, we all want to find out, don't we? There we go. Right, we learned how much Google heavily values the reputation and expertise of a website. And previously as SEOs, we've been very focused on creating good quality content and great quality links, but we hadn't necessarily considered how important the actual reputation and expertise of a specific website actually was. And we knew that it valued it so much so that it created an algorithm update which was designed to target it. We also knew that websites which had been hit by the update found it really difficult to recover. And this is because it was an update of a very different variety. So previously, if we'd been hit by Panda, we could change the content on the page, delete any kind of thin content pages or any duplication issues that we'd had, and we could fix it that way. If we had Penguin, we could put all of the links that we'd bought into a disavow file, we could say sorry to Google, and Google would no longer count those links towards the website, and we would be out of that penalty. But with this particular update, it wasn't that easy. Not that I'm saying that that was easy, because I know for a lot of people it wasn't easy to get out of Penguin 2.0. But in this case, it took so many more things into consideration. It wasn't just the content on a page or a couple of links that had been built to your website. It was the way Google saw your website as a whole. It was your reputation, it was your trust, it was your expertise. And so being caught in this algorithm made it so much more difficult for people to rank well. And this really made people stand up and pay attention to what Google was looking for. We also found the concept of EAT, so expertise, authority, and trust, and Your Money, Your Life became SEO buzzwords. In fact, they still are. They're everywhere when we're searching from an SEO perspective, and they're what a lot of people talk about when it comes to building a strong SEO campaign. Now, fast forward to today, and let's go back to about a month or two ago. So back in July 2022, Google updated the quality rater guidelines again. It refined what makes a high quality page, what Your Money, Your Life was, and it also introduced a helpful content update at the same time. Then again, a week ago, or sort of 2 weeks ago now, it started rolling out its September 2022 core algorithm update. And then just last week, again, it started rolling out the product review update. So we know that right now, Your Money, Your Life or not, there has never been a more important time to get your on-site content and reputation right with all of the algorithm updates and the updates, again, to the quality rater guidelines. So first off, you're probably asking, what is Your Money, Your Life, or YMYL? So the concept of Your Money, Your Life was designated by Google to highlight websites which fall into a specific category. That's websites which either impact your money or your life, so basically what it says on the tin. As these websites are deemed to have a substantial impact on a person, the pages on the website and the website as a whole are held to a higher standard when they're being evaluated in the quality rater guidelines. As if there's an issue with them, they can have a more detrimental impact on the individual. So what that means is when Google's rating your website from the perspective of a page quality rater guidance, if your website falls into the Your Money, Your Life category, it will need to have a higher level of page quality than potentially a website that doesn't fall into that category, which still has to have a really good page quality, but it's just not held to as higher standards. The concept was updated in the recent QRG updates to include the word significantly impact, and this showed that Google took more seriously what might fall into this category. And there was two main reasons why. Firstly, if the topic itself was harmful or dangerous to the individual, and secondly, if the topic could cause harm if the content is not accurate or trustworthy. And the reason I've highlighted the last part of this particular sentence is because this is a lot of where the SEO comes in. Very, very important, specifically if you're in the Your Money, Your Life category, to make sure that your content is accurate, trustworthy, and backed up so it's easy for someone on your website or someone who's rating the website to understand that. Your Money, Your Life is now predominantly broken into 4 segments. So we have health or safety on the top left. So that's topics that could harm like mental, physical, and emotional health, or anything such as physical safety or safety online. We have financial security. So that's anything that could damage a person's ability to support themselves and their families. So that, again, could be anything that costs people money. That could even go through to e-commerce if it's a website that looks like it may scam an individual, or anything in the financial sector. Your Money, Your Life society. So that's topics which could negatively impact groups of people or issues of public interest. And then we've got other, which I think is just where it kind of bucketed everything that it didn't want to put into a specific category. So how do I know if my website falls into this category? Well, thankfully, in the quality rater guidelines, Google gives us some guidance. Just to explain briefly on the top side. So you can see here that from an information perspective, it gives us some examples of what might clearly be a Your Money, Your Life topic, all the way down to something which is unlikely to be. So, for example, evacuation routes for a tsunami, fairly straightforward, why that would be so important to get that right. Inaccurate information of evacuation routes could obviously cause significant harm to a person. So if you're putting this type of content, or you've got a website that gives this kind of detail, then again, very much likely to fall into that category. Maybe a Your Money, Your Life topic, something like a weather forecast. So in most situations, it couldn't cause harm, but if someone's maybe looking to take a boat out or do something that's weather specific, does have the potential to cause harm and therefore could fall into that category. And finally, not or unlikely would be something like music award winners. So again, just a list, an informational list. Interesting for sure, but not something that's likely to have an impact on an individual's money or life. But regardless of whether you think your website is in this category, adhering to Google's QRGs is a great way to ensure that Google views our websites as high quality and ranks them accordingly. And this is essentially what Google is looking for in section 3.1. So when we look at the page quality rating, it has 5 most important factors. The first one is the purpose of the page. So does your page actually answer what the user is looking for? Does it answer questions or queries? And does it give them information? The second is that EAT acronym that keeps getting banded around. So expertise, authority, and trust. Very important characteristic to make sure that you have all of that covered on your website. The third one, the main quality content and amount. When we talk about amount, as I'll explain later, it doesn't have to be chunks. It just needs to be enough to answer the questions that a user might have and inform them to allow them to make an informed decision. And then the final two, very important factors. So website information or information about who is responsible for the main content, and website reputation or reputation about who is responsible for the main content. So not only does your main content need to be great, you also need to prove the credentials of the website that has produced that information and why they're an expert on it, or the credentials of the person that has created that information and why they're an expert on it. And I break it down into two kind of segments. So the first, the concept of expertise, authority, and trust. So expertise focuses on demonstrating the knowledge of your website, and Google loves these kind of knowledgeable sources. Authority, so this is highlighting your website as an authoritative source of information. This can come down to building high-quality backlinks and trustworthy digital PR links as well. And finally, trust. So this can come in different forms. It can be that kind of off-site reputation that you're building. It can also be things like reviews and things that you do on-site. So 3 really key elements there. But when it comes to your money or life, we take that one step further and we look at things like user intent, purpose, and authoring. So user intent is really important. We need to be giving that clear information and expertise really on in the website to answer that purpose question that Google's looking for in those quality rated guidelines. So having a think about why are users coming to your page and how you can give them the information that they need. Purpose. Does the website have a clearly defined purpose? Is someone able to get to where they need to? So if they need to contact you or they need to call you or inquire, can they do that quickly? And is it easy for them to be able to do that on the website? And authoring, so who has created that content? Are they an expert, and why are they an expert? So really talking about their credentials and building out the profile of the individual and the website accordingly. So how do I optimize my website for this? So first stop, optimizing content. So according to section 4.2 of the Quality Rater Guide, I haven't read them all, by the way. Like, there's like 200 pages. I got to page 20 and it pretty much gave me all the information I need. So if you are interested, just read up to page 20. I'm sure the rest is interesting, but you'll get most of what you want in the first 20 pages. But section 4.2 says the quality of the main content is one of the most important criteria in the page quality rating, and it informs the expertise, the authority, and the trust of the page. So how do we create great content? Firstly, Google asks us to create a, quote, satisfying amount of high-quality content. Factual accuracy for this is key. Is your page factually correct, regularly refreshed, and supported by trusted and maybe external links or reviewed by an expert? Does the length of the page give enough information to inform the user and answer their questions? So again, we don't need to have chunks and chunks of content. And Google itself says that posting daily or at any specific frequency, for that matter, won't help you rank better in search results. It very much is about the concept of, does the length of the page give enough information to, again, inform that user intent, that user purpose, and answer any questions they might have. It's all about ensuring that the content you have is factually correct and that you have enough factually correct content to answer the user's questions, purpose, and intent. You also don't need to necessarily create new content to do that. So you can simply update existing content to keep it factually correct. And we've got an example of that here on Investopedia. So obviously payday loan very much falls into that your money or life category. Here we can see that they've obviously created some content, but instead of recreating that content, they've gone through and updated it. So this is a really great way to kind of showcase the expertise and that you're keeping everything up to date. And they've highlighted it by just putting a little updated July 2022 there, which is really nice. Again, another thing I really love about this page is that they review it by someone and then they also fact check it. So they're adding lots and lots of expertise and trust signals to that content as well. You can implement FAQs, either on page or site-wide. If your users have questions, answer them and use this as a way of kind of showcasing your expertise. You can also mark them up with FAQ schema to help Google and users understand that you're answering the user intent. When you do this, you get the benefit of your search result coming up like this, so you can actually display your questions in the search result. But also by using markups like FAQ schema, you can clearly state to Google that you have expertise in that topic. So that's also a really, really nice way to do it. Adding external links to trusted sources, which back up your information, is also a really nice way to do it. I recently wrote a blog on our own website about the Medic update, and I wanted to link out to something that was trustworthy to kind of back up my points on what I was saying. So I linked out to one of Barry Schwartz's articles on Search Engine Roundtable, a very kind of trustworthy article within this space. So that was a really nice way for me to link externally with information that backed up the points that I had. And finally, test that the functionality works. So in addition to creating a great page, you don't just want to have good content on it, you also need to make sure that the actual functionality of that page works. So does the shopping cart function? Does a video play? Does a game play? Testing that all of these elements on the page work is also really important. The second point, match your user intent. So think about it, why is a user coming to your website? Give them what they need early on in your content and make clear what the purpose of your page is and match their intent. So I've used a couple of examples here from the medical negligence space. So this, again, is a really clear your money, your life topic. And I've used examples from Irwin Mitchell, Being Let Down, and Patient Claim Line. These are all search results for the head term medical negligence, which is a very competitive term with a high search volume. And we can see that each of the websites has chosen to qualify it with a definition to start the page. So this is obviously their way of answering the kind of user purpose and user intent. They're deeming that when a user is searching for that specific keyword, they want to know, first off, what is this, before we go on to discuss the expertise. And the interesting thing about this approach is that it works. Because when I do a SERP overview for medical negligence, I see the same 3 websites in the top 3 positions. So evidently Google also feels that by qualifying that with a definition at the start, that they are actually answering the user intent and the user purpose. The next thing is ensuring that your website has, quote, clear and satisfying website information. About us means very much what it says on the tin. Tell your audience about you and why they should buy your product or use your service. So this is one of my clients, Hayes Garden World. Before I had a conversation with them, this page was filled with dogs. So they thought it would be great to put their pets on the About Us page, which admittedly was cute, right? Like they had some absolutely gorgeous dogs on there. But for people that are coming to purchase a product off there, and they sell high-end garden furniture up to £5,000, I would want to know the people behind that product and understand who they were. So after much persuasion, I managed to get them to put their pictures on the website reluctantly, but we got there in the end. And we also not only put some lovely mugshots of them, we also put some content on there about them, just the individuals, and then a bit of content about the brand as a whole. Again, adding a lot more trust. We're giving an insight into who the brand is and who the people are behind it. And it's not only great from a perspective of Google and adding that kind of trust and purpose, but also from a user perspective in terms of improving conversion rate. You know, we're adding a lot of trust in there as well. So it's a twofold approach when you're improving things like that. And also giving your audience the ability to contact you easily. So things like a phone number, email, online chat, or all of the above. So this is a contact page for a company called Watches to You. I think that they actually do this really nicely. So in the top left-hand corner, they've got a really clear telephone number with a bunch of options that you can choose from. They've got a price match form if you want a price match. They've got a link through to their showroom. They've also got an email sign-up, an address if you want to write to them for sure. And then failing all of those things, if that doesn't satisfy what you need, they have a contact us form down the bottom. So lots and lots of different ways to contact them, really readily kind of information available on their website. So again, a really nice way to get in touch. The next stage, authoring. So in section 5.3 of the Quality Rater Guidelines, we talk about a very high level of expertise, authority, and trust. And Google tells us that formal expertise is important for YMYL topics such as medical, financial, or legal advice. Out of 5 key points in Google's Quality Rater Guidelines, authoring is related to in 2 of them, so that's 40%. We know that when it comes to authoring, it is something that's really important to Google, particularly in this sector. And we can see it here again in the bottom 2 of the page quality rater guidelines that I mentioned before. So author your pages. Highlight who the content is written about or reviewed by. So I recently did a piece of content on our website about what PPC is. I wrote under it content reviewed and fact checked by myself, which it was. I also put in the content updated, which may not have been entirely factually correct, but it went in there anyway. I then I linked it through from my name through to our author profiles. So building out an author page for that individual, because just by doing that doesn't really mean anything. I could be anyone. I could have no credentials and I could have just stuck my name on there and, it could be anyone. So you want to build out an author profile to kind of explain why that person has that expertise. So we did that as well. Talked about a lot of different things, talked about professional qualifications, educational qualifications, a little bit about sort of my background and my experience in digital marketing. And then it also linked externally to a whole bunch of thought leadership articles that I'd written, and also to anything that I'd done recently for the Cedarwood blog. So again, I built out a page that showcased my expertise so that when I'm linking and I'm authoring articles on the website, people can go through and Google can go through and they can understand why I'm qualified to be an expert in that sector. So author profiles are a really, really nice way to kind of build that out and to add that valuable expertise to your content. The next section, check your reputation. So reputation information plays a very key part in the quality rater guidelines. And luckily, Google gives us a bit of guidance as to how they evaluate reputation. So if you want to do this quickly, what you can do is start by identifying the homepage of your website, and then you can undertake 2 very simple brand searches. So the first brand search is just simply a search for your brand without your website, and that will then pull up a range of search results that will be other people talking about your brand, and you can really understand what your reputation looks like online. And secondly, you can also check for any external reviews by simply typing in again your brand and reviews, and then removing your actual site itself. So 2 really nice ways to kind of check your reputation and your brand online just through really simple site searches. I did it for us and it wasn't very exciting, I'm not going to lie. Just kind of pulled up social media profiles, which again, if you have Facebook and people are leaving reviews on Facebook accounts, then this is what Google will be seeing. If you have any external reviews like Trustpilot or FIFO or just any of those kind of ad hoc review sites that pop up from time to time, they can also come in here. But I would really recommend that you do a reputation check so that you can see what other people are seeing when they're searching for you, and also what Google could potentially seeing when it's looking for the reputation of your website. And Google's quite good with this, actually. It also gives us some guidance as to what it could see as positive and negative reputation information. So this is what it sees as positive reputation information. So it can be things like a Wikipedia article or a really reputable article about a specific website. It could be, positive reviews or anything with positive sentiment or something that's been written in a positive light about it. And also from a negative perspective. So it can be things, again, like a negative review on specific websites. It could be a negative news article. It could be an article about, for example, the business's criminal behavior or more negative reviews. So lots of different things that Google is looking for in there that could kind of indicate a positive or a negative reputational information. And just to tie this up, because we've talked a lot about on-site SEO, I want to speak briefly about digital PR and using that, again, to build out reputation in line with the quality rater guidelines. So digital PR is a really great way to build links into your website. It's a good job I've memorized this slide, isn't it? It's a really great way to build links into your website and to kind of build that trust from an external perspective as well. So we've talked a lot about building on-site trust, but reputation is also a very external thing. So you can utilize digital PR to kind of build out that external reputation. One of the great ways to do that is through thought leadership. So this is a really nice way to establish your reputation and build credible links through to your website. One way of doing that, answering journalist requests for experts, either through databases or on social media. I pulled out an example here from Response Source, which is one of the tools that we use to collate with journalists. So here they're looking for an expert advice for decorating small living rooms. So if you are a business or if you have a client in that particular sector, you can liaise with the journalist, you can answer the questions, and your expertise, which will be super relevant to that brand and that topic, will obviously get published on a website with hopefully a really nice link back to your website at the same time. So that's not only building your reputation as an expert in that sector, it's also building a really relevant link back to your website. So again, a really, really nice way to build that reputation and the SEO at the same time. You can also newsjack an event that's happened or is about to happen and combine it with your expertise. So we did this with a client I mentioned before, Hayes Garden World, and after lockdown ended, we knew that pets were going to get lonely, and there was a lot of topics, and a lot of people were talking about it. But what people weren't talking about was how lonely plants were going to get. So we spoke to experts at the garden centre, and we got them to put together some advice and some guidance as to how potentially lonely houseplants could suffer after lockdown. And we came up with some crazy things, and it was things like, the house would be cooler because the heating wasn't on, so the plants missed the sound of human voices. And it showcased our expertise. It was very closely tied to our industry. It was really quick to turn around because it was a quick piece of newsjacking. And we actually landed about 23 links across the likes of the Daily Mail, the Guardian, the Mirror, so all those top-tier publications with a really, really simple idea. And the beauty of this was that it built our expertise, and it built our reputation whilst maintaining a really tight relevancy for our brand as well. You can also create great content and approach journalists with it. Journalists are always looking for ways to add value, and the easier that you make it for them, the better it's going to be. So we've done this with a range of kind of thought leadership ideas. We've done how to help bees by creating your own wildflower patch, Mediterranean garden ideas, vegetable gardening for beginners, chunks and chunks and chunks of content on really nice, relevant publications. So we've got Country Living, House Beautiful, Women and Home, so on and so forth. So utilising thought leadership and creating content that's relevant to the publication and also relevant to your brand is, again, a really nice way to kind of build that reputation and those nice quality links back to your website. And data-driven campaigns. So this is another way to prove your expertise by kind of proving data or analysing something. So many data sources that you can use as well off this. So you don't really have to pay for a lot of the data. You've got Statista, you've got Instagram hashtag data, you've got the ONS, Google Trends, Google's Keyword Planner, and NHS Digital, and that's just a few. There's lots and lots of free data sources out there that you can analyse to help kind of showcase your expertise. So take the data, analyse it, and create a really great press release with a hook that journalists are going to love. We did it for one of our clients in the vaping industry, and we talked about people that were looking for specific jobs as Brits looked to ditch the office jobs back in 2022, which it wasn't a vaping client, sorry, it was Easy Shopper. And what we did was we essentially took search data and we looked at searches for Indeed over the last 5 years. So we took this data for free. It was from Google Trends, and we plotted it into a graph, and we analysed it, and then we started to understand when people started to looking for a new job in the new year. Again, really, really successful campaign, landed nearly 40 links across national and regional publications. Data was freely available, so we didn't have to pay for that data in any way. We just spent a bit of time analysing it, pulling it into a press release, and creating a story that journalists love to cover. A really simple piece of data, well analysed and related to your website, and a data-driven piece of digital PR, and a whole bunch of great quality links. And again, building great reputation. So just to sum up with a couple of key takeaways. Firstly, back to the on-site, showcase your expertise. So Google wants to know why you're an expert and why it should send users to your website. There's lots of different ways you can showcase expertise, both on-site and off-site. You can do it through digital PR, through thought leadership, through data-led campaigns, and you can do it on-site through authoring and just creating really good content that answers the user's questions. 2, create great content, author it, use external links to kind of back up that information that you've got and make it super relevant to your user. 3, I think this is probably the most important one, showcase the reputation of your website and the content creators. So we saw that 40% of the page quality rater guidelines talk about reputation of the content and the people that have created it. So really don't be afraid to showcase that reputation and always keep an eye on what that reputation is. So use those kind of site search ideas to ensure that what people are saying about your website is good. And finally, trust is on-site and off-site. So it's not enough to just do on-site or to just do off-site. You need to have the really nice combination of both to ensure that you're giving off those really kind of positive trust signals at all points. Thank you. I'm happy to answer some questions, but also if you do want to connect with me, don't use Twitter, because all you will find on there is me complaining about Avanti West Coast. No offence if there's anyone who works there in this room. You can find me on LinkedIn at Amanda Walls. But yeah.